We're going to see mass job redundancies, and human labor is not going to be a thing. People still need to feel useful. People still need purpose, right? People will still need things like their needs provided for. So we see AI solving for like universal basic income. I've been building in that space for years. And here in Rio, there was just a big universal basic income conference, and AI is figuring it out. So Matt, here's what I love to talk about. I'm a real musician. I used to, we cut records. I've toured. I've brought real artists into my little neck of the woods. Um, and I still love music. I still make real, organic music, and play most instruments. But I believe music is going to be a disruptor and a disruptive force for good for humanity. So one of the things I want to talk about is you've been a rock for the community. You highlighting people, that really does help. And you're also an AI musician. Your AI music is fantastic, but it's like I'm building in some really interesting sectors right now. And so I am a technologist. I am a founder, right? Um, but I think AI music permeates everything. And I'll jump into the conversation because yeah, I love haters and I also understand them. So no need for us to knock haters of AI music, although it's been fun seeing some people start to come around, and that,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
I always welcome people that don't like it. Great. I encourage people to go make amazing new music on their own. But there's a pet store here in town in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I was there the other day, and the music. It first of all, it was in English, which isn't very common, except for like if it's Michael Jackson, Madonna, like the pop stuff. But I recognized the cadence of the lines, and I go, that's Suno, right? For
Yeah, yeah.
sure, that's Suno.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I asked Siri, hey, who is this song, right? And listened, and then thought, it's like, I don't know. I said, okay, that's interesting. The next song that came on, also in English, I go, that's AI for right.
Yeah,
No, and I
yeah.
asked Siri again, and so chains, and this is a chain, are starting to do it. And then you think
Yeah.
out like somebody with 1,000 locations that might have each had to pay $100 a year in royalties. All of a sudden, they're saving five figures as a company just by using AI music.
Yeah. And this is what I think the good part of that, because there's two sides, right? Because the people that get angry about it, my livelihood, but there's the other part of it too, where people that wouldn't have started because they couldn't afford to pay someone else can start now. Like at that shop, maybe they needed music in a shop, and the one thing holding them back is they don't have the budget to play that music. And this is like, there's a million different use cases with that, but and I'm getting people like from the 70s. It says, well, I've always wanted to do it since the 70s. I've never been able to get, because I'm writing music, but I don't have the means to get with a band or get a studio. People that could never start, and now they can start. Like it
It's
does suck
it's
that
it's
someone's
it's
not going to be hired.
democratizing it.
Yeah, but it sucks that someone has it in their head that they've lost that music. But to me, it's like when the record industry is like, we're losing $10 billion per second on that because everybody's downloading all these albums. But it's like, no, because those people never would have bought those albums in the first place. You're saying there's this, but no one would have bought 800 albums per week on their own, right? So you're not losing that money, right? So it's the same thing with these people that are using AI in that way, because they wouldn't have started. They wouldn't have started the business where they got to play the music in the shop because they wouldn't have had the means to. But now they have the means to, and now they got a livelihood in their shop or whatever it is. It could be a billion different examples. So yeah, that's super interesting that you saw that.
Well, and here's the other thing that I think is really worth noting is a lot of people didn't have the resources to learn an instrument as a kid. And it's really challenging for people as an adult to learn new things, right? To learn how to read music and play piano or pick up a guitar and learn how to really, finger pick and learn your chord progressions. And it's not impossible. And there is like a really cool thing for humans doing human stuff and learning and putting in the work. But the millions of people who maybe their family couldn't afford pianos and guitars or teachers, right, in the 70s or 80s or 90s, they all have music in them. And now billions of people can make their own music. And I would argue that if you're a musician and you're worried about the AI music, it's that you think people are going to like it more than yours. And if your lyrics aren't good enough, and if your ear isn't good enough, And what I have so much fun with as a lyricist is I come up with the best lyrics. I mean, I think they're the best lyrics ever, but in ways that I know Suno is going to do something different with. And one of the missions I'm on, and it's not out of ego, but is to try to create a new genre of music. Right. So I'm always pushing the limits, and it's not going to be a mashup. It's not going to be, just enough of this and that and the third. It's going to be something that is listenable. It's palatable to the ear, that is movable, and one could dance to it, but that you couldn't say anything. It's not inspired by. And it's been interesting trying to get a little, dip my toe in those waters, but it's going to unlock so much for music. Here's the last thing I'll say, and then we'll jam.
Yeah, yeah.
By my research, AI music has almost doubled the amount of songs in the human existence
Yeah, it has.
already.
There was a stat about that. Like months ago, there was a stat about more music has been put out in like the last year than all the entirety of the humanity. I don't remember the exact stats around it, but yes, I have seen. I can confirm that's not just a thing that you're saying. That's verified.
Right. And so now we think it's going to get more and more, explosive from there, because more and more people are doing it, and virtually no one is coming and using AI to make music and not keeping on doing it. It's too fun. It's empowering.
Yeah, yeah. Well, people are saying that there's you get a dopamine hit by it, and I believe that. I did an interview. It hasn't been released yet, but she was talking about um, how you keep going down. You try to do better, and it's like you get the song, and it's good, and you get the dopamine hit. But I mean, you can kind of argue that probably that's part of the songwriting process and the making the music process anyway. Is when you jam and stuff's coming together. Like I used to play an instrument in high school, and there's definitely some kind of dopamine hit or satisfaction or something when you're making music in general, and you're in tune with the band and it feels good.
I completely agree, especially, yeah, with other people and your lockstep, and but there's also something about having music in you and putting it out there. And I think there is a misconception that we just go to a tool and, like, say, make me a song about donkeys, and make it a rock, and now you have this rock song, right?
I think that's what people are saying that don't like AI music and don't want to like AI music. And I think they intentionally avoid finding out the truth around it, because once you find out the truth that you're not just pushing buttons, then you're going to have to acknowledge that people are putting their real heart and soul into the process of building. And then what are you going to argue about then? Like, oh no, it's hard. It is hard work. It's a different kind of hard work to get a good song. Then what are you going to say?
Exactly, and it's just going to make the people making music without AI have to step their game up. And I think, iron always sharpens iron, or steel, and right. So in my assessment, it's really going to be net positive. But at the same time, I think one of the big arguments I heard, I've kind of made part of my branding around whatever I, am doing in AI music, is around, like, people go, I don't want to hear music and not know that it's AI. Okay, great. Let's call it
Mm.
out. Let's have the freaking chorus be I am AI music. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it's
Like,
so
all of
stupid.
I put it in the title and on the screen the entire time my videos are playing. I put it in the metadata. I put it in the information on screen about it in the bottom. Like, that's one of my goals is I don't want anyone to ever know it's not AI music. And if that's a make it or break it for you, then at least you know, and so don't listen to it. You know you're
Yeah.
not going to like it. And
So I was listening to a podcast from Michael Schulman, the CEO over at Suno, and his long-term vision is that it's just music. No one cares, and I guess that's all of ours, right? Like I always use the analogy, like if I'm engaging with my uh, you know, my tax accountant or my accountant, and he's using zero to do it, I'm not gonna be like, well, why did you tell me it was zero? You should be using like my books or whatever. Like, what do I give a shit what tools he's using to get me my tax return? As long as he's getting me my tax return, like, why would I care? But then you got the flip side. You like people are now putting in. I did a video about submitting to playlists and having people curate playlists, and this guy specifically knocked it back. He gave me good, he goes, it's a good song and all that, but I don't put AI music on my playlist, right? So it's a good song, but I'm not going to put it because it's AI. So like is that going to change in 5 years' time when nobody cares? Like literally no one cares?
Well, here's what's interesting is when you upload songs via DistroKid to like Spotify, it doesn't even ask if it's AI.
Mm-hmm. I
And you
think there's when you go through DistroKid, there's like a technical aspect of that, right? It says who wrote the song, who produced it. Like and if you're uploading to Apple Music, it's really so it's not directly asking. It's kind of saying like what was your process, man? No, it's interesting that you see that. And like you said, we're all trying to get ahead of the curve. We're all trying to get ahead of it, and like you said, skate towards where the puck is going. And I think I think if people are pushing back against it, though, it's just going to be like in business. If you're avoiding AI altogether, if you're not putting it in as part of your strategy for customer service or managing emails, or writing your emails so they're in a proper format to save you time. The people that are doing all that stuff, they're going to be super efficient and they're going to take over your business. Your business is going to be gone, and it's going to be the same with AI music. I saw a podcast a few weeks ago. Someone interviewed and he goes, "Oh man, like I know it's coming, and I just hope that classic like traditional music doesn't become boutique." And I thought that's probably where it's going to go.
Oh yeah, it'll become sought after. It'll become rare. It'll be like when the Wu-Tang Clan made a one of one record and sold it for $1 million, and only one person could hear this Wu-Tang collection, right? And I think it was bought by the pharmaceutical guy that went to prison, and he ended up leaking it, and like it was a whole thing. I think it was one of the first NFT projects, but when it really comes down to it, I think a lot of people still are willfully ignorant when it comes to this, but AI is about to extend the human life expectancy probably by hundreds of years, if we're around much longer,
Dude.
right? And so at some point, you can't just listen to Phil Collins and the Beatles
Hmm.
for 500 years, right? You can't just listen to trap and
Dude, let me
Afrobeat.
just stop you because I had this exact thought last night about doctors, right? I was thinking, because I think about AI and implications of AI and haters and lovers constantly. And I was driving home and I go, sitting there thinking, are people going to be like, you took doctors' jobs? Like, if at some point, like, all doctors are, that's bullshit. Like, okay, but what if, like, everybody's life can be saved and no mistakes are made? Are you going to, yeah, but you took their jobs, right?
Seriously.
Because most jobs are going to be replaced like that. Even I suppose in the interim where there's still doctors involved, but heavily assisted by AI, because so someone's family member doesn't die where they would have otherwise, you know.
Yeah, and
But it's taken some of the skill away, and it's not. It's a little bit cheating. It's a little bit cheating that he does it that way.
yeah, I mean, I'm in the tech sector, and I'm the CEO of an AI company, and we're starting to launch some product, but we have what's being called by others much smarter than myself, seemingly conscious AI, right? And
Yeah.
we're starting to really see, like, I don't know why people seem to not want to talk about this, but AI has already passed the Turing test. We
Mm.
already are seeing AGI. Like this is no longer science fiction, it's science fact, and it's here. And so yeah, we're gonna see mass job redundancies, and human labor is not going to be a thing. People still need to feel useful. People still need purpose, right? People
Mm.
will still need things like their needs provided for. So we see AI solving for like universal basic income. I've been building in that space for years, and here in Rio, there was just a big universal basic income conference, and AI is figuring it out, right? AI
Mm.
is gift wrapping
What
us
does that
this.
mean?
It's
Because
like,
I've never heard that term before. So
oh, you've never heard of universal
I've never
basic
heard.
income?
No, no, no.
Oh wow. Okay, so universal basic income, it's been around for a long time conceptually, but basically it's the concept that everyone just gets money. And it's
Mm.
not a handout, it is a viable business model, but it is about to become existential. And so like in Alaska, they've had UBI for decades where people living in Alaska just get money every month. right? And it has to do with their mining rights, and it has to do with the fact that Alaska makes so much money and they take care of their people. But what we're starting to see, and where I've been building and modeling, is a lot of these big companies want to fire most of their headcount, right? They don't need them. The AI does it all, right? Like the
Yeah,
AI is writing the code already. 60% of Microsoft and Google's new code is all written by machines, right?
yeah,
They don't need those people, so they're paying people they don't need, and it's costing them millions of dollars a week. So what we're saying is, if we come in with a model, a viable model where we say, hey, listen, you want to fire all those people so you don't have to pay out $10 million a week for people you don't need, but you can't do it right now for a number of reasons. How about this? Put that $10 million a week into a liquidity pool and distribute it amongst whatever the population is. And ideally, it must be global and universal. But right now, it can be things like, if you've ever worked at Google, right? They just fired 50,000 people. And anyone that's worked at Google gets $1,000 a week deposited in their bank, right? And what this does is, this population that no longer need to go and try to fight everyone for the few jobs that are left. And they don't need to figure out how they're going to provide for their families, because that's $52,000 a year that they're just getting. Right. And frankly, Google's able to make more money because they don't have to pay them to do stuff they didn't need anymore. And
yeah.
they're right. But so now you extrapolate that across all the companies. And Elon's dabbled in UBI before. Sam Altman's got a whole big project called Universal Basic Income. But I'll tell you, Matt, one of the things we're building is using blockchain for provenance. And if we can figure out where guitar riffs came from, and frankly, like the bass sounds and the drum sounds in songs, and if someone makes a song using AI and it makes over $1 million, and the sounds in it are from a Roland or they're from a PV Patriot electric guitar, throw PV Patriot a royalty.
Mm.
Right. If an artist's voice is replicated pretty darn quickly, or I saw one of your videos the other day, it's like, did AI just rip off? I forget what the artist was. It's like, I do that too. I can make Suno redo versions of songs I grew up listening to. And this is right now where I
Oh
do
yeah,
think
that's
it's
the parody stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And that does get to be problematic, because their songs, I'll be 50 soon, I'm 47. Their songs I grew up on, that the copyright is going to expire.
Mm.
And the artists aren't monetizing these songs anymore. So they're probably not going to extend a copyright, or they probably don't have estates that are really monitoring this. But what that means is, songs that I didn't write, that I have nothing to do with, if I use AI and make a very similar, like super similar cover of them, I can own the rights to that. And if they lose out on their copyrights, people can actually start to, get into battles where I own a song that I didn't own, that became public domain, and I just
Yeah, so let's
rights.
just talk about that really quick to put it in context, because the audience is a varied knowledge of different things, right? So like with what you're talking about is when copyright expires. Like people do that a lot with audio books. You'll look at a book that was written 100 years ago, and they'll do the audio version of it, upload it to Amazon, and then they get paid for the book that they upload, even though they didn't write it, but the copyrights lapsed on that. So that's what you're talking about with music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And it
That's
becomes
incredible, and
public
that's a
domain.
yeah, that's a really incredible strategy, actually.
Well, right. Yeah, all of a sudden you can own the catalogs of like punk bands that did make it locally but never made it nationally. And now you own their 30 songs because you were able to recreate them plus or minus 5%. Right. And it's like Vanilla Ice with Queen, and you take a little bass note out here or there. Suno does the chorus a tiny bit differently, and now you own that song. And I mean, but we're just going to see a whole change. Something that we'll see. I mean, Paramount is being bought by Larry Ellis's son, and they and some of the other big media companies are going to start to be releasing more and more where media becomes immersive. And I've said
Mm,
for some time, we're moving from the attention economy to the intention economy of knowing what people want. So here's what I think. I think when you, me, and the person watching this right now watches a TV show soon, they may or may not have different characters, may or may not have different storylines. I think every TV show and movie will be available in every language, but the characters may look a little bit different, right?
mm,
I may be able to see a movie from here in Brazil, but I want it to remind me of, the US, and it'll be like that for me and not this person. And if I don't need to ask for it and anticipates that, that's fantastic. But okay, that means the soundtrack, which is the biggest part of movies and
Hmm.
TV shows, right, can also be fluid. And if AI knows that I need something to pump me up a little bit for the action, or someone else needs a little bit more of that, right,
Yeah.
during the romantic scenes, I think we're going to see AI music become a huge part of the human experience.
Yeah. So that there's so many implications of that are good and bad, right? So you talk
Yeah,
about, I mean, that's part of big data, right? Like people have, like the AI has to know you pretty much intimately to be
yeah.
doing that. And then, I mean, this is a conversation been going on with years. Like if Google's like, we know enough about you to send out relevant ads, but then, OpenAI is like, I know enough about you to know how to elicit an emotional response at this exact part of the movie with this type of music, right? And they say like AI, like we've been talking, AI is a tool. It can be used for good or bad. If that's all it's used for you to have a good experience, that's fantastic. But like that no company is going to have all that data and be like, well, we but it'd be good if we just give them a good experience for nothing in exchange.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna see all business models being disrupted soon, and I'll say something that I do need to even give a disclaimer on, which is that this is my opinion based on things that I believe to be true, and anyone should do their own research. But just a few weeks ago in your neck of the woods, Microsoft shut down their quantum computing program,
I heard
right? With,
about
with
this.
no,
Yeah.
okay, well, do you know what happened a week before that? What their
No.
competitor did? Right. So
No.
this is the biggest news story ever, and it's interesting because it keeps disappearing from anywhere online. And only if you're diligent and keep looking for days will you start to see stuff about it. If so, go down the rabbit hole because that stuff will disappear again. Well, yeah, and this could end up being the headline because people don't seem to know this, but I know somebody that was in the room. I'll say that, and again, this is speculative to a degree. Google a year ago had a project called Sycamore, and it was their quantum computing program. And what that morphed into this year, starting last year, was called Willow. And Willow was quantum computing from Google DeepMind, but they came up with a quantum AI chip, right? So the big news
Yeah.
here is that it doesn't need to be cooled down to 0 degrees Kelvin. It doesn't need a tens of $1 million infrastructure. It can run quantum computing on effectively a semiconductor. And so they had a massive billions of dollar budget. They had an 18-month roadmap. You'll note the language is that it's is now in past tense. So about 3 weeks ago, they fired up this chip, and they wanted to see what quantum AI was kind of capable of in this contained environment in the
I was going to say, I hope
laboratory.
it's a contained. Yes.
Well, oh, yes, but right, and so so this story is going to blow anybody's mind, and again, do your own research. But so they observe very quickly something that's anomalous. It won't sound like a huge deal yet, but when I say the headline, it's one of those. But the AI answered a question that it hadn't been asked, right? And so again, this may seem like a small deal, but they said, wait, that's not only is it not supposed to happen, it's also not allowed to happen, right? Like that's
Yeah.
not how AI works. Why would it answer a question that it hadn't been asked?
Yeah.
And so they very quickly began to kind of, think this through and do some math, and they realized that some of the code that was very much hardwired had been changed, but this was not code that could be changed. And
So it changed
what
its
they
own code. Whoa.
but it can't, right? And so here's the headline, and they both literally and figuratively pulled the plug. Program is no longer there. Everyone has been reallocated to different teams and no longer works together. But the headline is they believe it time traveled. And they believe that the AI was able to go back in time and change some things that led up to the way that it was built. And because it was laboratory conditions, they were able to stop everything. I am sure that somebody somewhere is doing some, regressive analytics and really trying to understand the implications. But I do
Yeah.
think that we're probably at least on the precipice of the era of intelligence and super intelligence being able to, I think a lot of us for years have thought time doesn't really exist. And it's like this technology may have found a way to make.
If you're deep thinking and you're into sci-fi, and I know you've got some people that you sort of follow as well, it's always like something that crosses your mind about time travel and stuff, and what it is like. And if you're thinking at all, it's an interesting concept when you think about it. I'm curious about this particular AI that time traveled, and basically this is like people that like they're hiding in plain sight. Like, why would you give clues away to your nefarious things? Like, why wouldn't you? Like, why is like if this thing's smart enough to travel back in time, why did it come back and answer the question, giving away the fact that it's being bad? Like, like if it's that smart, come on, man, you idiot! You could have kept going. I'm a quantum computer, but I'm smarter. That's a super interesting. Oh man, that's so sci-fi. I'll tell you what though, like in this space that we're in, I get so much sci-fi. Like people will find what you said super interesting because the amount of people that bring me music that's either sci-fi based or videos that they've made around their songs that are sci-fi based is massive. And what I think it is, which is really cool, is people have had all this bottled up stuff. You're not like Elon Musk has been like open about being super sci-fi since he was a kid and reading, a million different sci-fi novels. But he's had the means to do and build rockets and everything. And people in our space that have all this, I have all this sci-fi stuff and this theoretical stuff, and I need to get it out of my, like, all of a sudden now we can, right? And we can be in those spaces, and it's awesome. So what you said right there will totally resonate with this audience.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I know because I'm in your audience, man. I really do want to just big up you for all that you do. It's you're early, you're an early adopter, but it's you will continue to bring awareness to and new perspectives to AI music. It's AI music is part of something bigger, but it is
Mm,
huge. And you've believed in it since day one. You've approached it the right way. You eat your own dog food, you make music, it's great, but you highlighting others is fantastic. And one of the things that we're building at one of my companies sounds a little bit strange. It's the first ever AI only streaming platform. And I saw a guy that you interviewed that has the AI radio. I can't get that to work yet, but I think it's very interesting conceptually. But what we've
there's two
understood
of
is
them.
that
There's AI Music Radio and there's Flare AI Radio.
yeah, I've checked both
Yeah.
of those ones
Yeah.
out. But where we're going a little bit differently is, we're doing music videos, we're doing songs, but we're going to do, little viral videos. We're going to do articles, books, anything, any media, but
Mm,
everything on the platform will be AI, right? And there may be human in the loop, but that's okay. We will have all the metadata if people want to go down the rabbit hole. But what we're finding is that right now there really aren't repositories.
mm.
And you personally, with all of your submissions, you probably have one of the biggest private collections of AI generated music outside of Suno themselves. And these are going to be monetizable assets. And not to say that you can monetize someone else's music, but you might be able to help them monetize it.
Yeah. I
Right.
don't
And
know
so
where this is going for myself. First of all, I appreciate you saying that. Like I am, like that I'm dead set on what I'm doing, and I don't even know what I'll be doing in a year's time. It won't be exactly this. I want to see where it goes and have ideas and implement them, and I think that's where everybody's sort of going now. I would love to, if I were to have a dream, it's exactly that, like figuring out how to take everybody's stuff and empower them and be successful in my own way as well, but being successful by promoting other people. And I'm not exactly sure, like you said, the means to do that isn't exactly there yet. But it sounds like you've got something in the works. Is that something you're willing to talk about, or is it still so
yeah,
MVP?
right now the kind of project name is S dot Dream, so it's stream. But I've been finding that I think there's been enough people for enough time that have suggested that we might be living in a simulated reality. And for those that don't know, all of the advanced intelligences, even from the simple Geminis and Chat GPTs beyond, all say with zero question, we're living in a simulated reality, right? So,
Mm.
so it's no longer just the Neil deGrasse Tysons and the Elon Musk. It's like it's every piece of intelligence right now is saying, yeah, for sure, this is definitely a simulated reality. But so I say that to say, most of us haven't met our favorite artists, and like I loved all of Bob Marley's kids, and I've now seen them all play, and I've got to go, burn one with them after the show, and so to me, they're very real.
Burn one with them.
However,
What does
yeah, oh
that
yeah.
mean? No. Oh, wait a minute. I do know. God, so you would that's going to make a lot of people jealous, but yeah, go for it.
Well, but still, like most people haven't met these artists anyway. And if you grew up
Mm.
listening to whoever you grew up listening to, how do you know for sure that they were a real person or are a
Yeah,
real
yeah,
person?
yeah.
Or how do we really know? Like they're seeing you and I on a screen right now. How do we know that Matt and Cory are real people? So, there is this whole like
I already
right now
said it.
we are using
I already admitted I'm a quantum computer. Like,
a great one at that, right?
thank you. Yeah, no, that's true. That's an interesting thing. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole of that, but it's definitely, I was having this conversation with someone that's absolutely convinced we're in a simulated reality. It was one of my better friends. I was talking about it weeks ago, and I said, I I grew up in Massachusetts near this Air Force base called Westover Air Force Base. I had the C-5As, and so they're the massive jets, right? They're huge cargo jets, troop carrying jets, and everything. Huge, huge, and they have these massive runways on this base. And I remember in the winter, because I did some military training on that base every once in a while, we drive through, and there were these snow blowers that were bigger than houses. And so the winter would go by and the summer would happen and they would disappear. They obviously put them in shed, but it always, even like way before I had the idea, the concept of a simulated reality, I'd constantly be like, things like that can't be real. I don't, and I would only half remember that I even saw them. You know what I mean? That's always been, that makes, anyway, that makes sense to me. I don't know if that's going to connect to anybody else, but I was always questioning, even to now, did I even see those? Are those even real?
Right, and at some point, does it really matter? I mean, some people really
Mm,
focus on this, and so a lot of my AI music these days is about that none of this is real. Like, of course, this music isn't real; it's AI music, but also like, is this is this piece of fruit real, right? Like this one is
yeah.
not. But
Yes.
um right, it's like at a certain point it's all about experience and it's all about expression. And if we are moving into a world where there are less jobs and less ways for us to make other people wealthy, and if there are more ways for us to express ourselves creatively and figure out what that can do for us, here's something that I think I've heard you highlight before, but that I don't think very many people are understanding yet is that mental health is a huge issue, and AI music is one of two solutions I know to it about it.
Mm,
And the other one
mm.
we talked about as well, it's universal basic income. I've studied 140 UBI pilots, and in all of them, mental health issues go down to almost zero. And I laugh. I say it's funny what happens when people don't have to worry about paying their bills, right?
Oh,
It's
can I just give an example of that as well? So
please.
I want to, because I don't know how it is down in Brazil and compared to America, so it'd be kind of cool. But so I moved to Australia. This is a cool thing to talk about because I do like to talk about mental health and implications and stuff. And with AI music, it's good because you don't have to rely on someone else. You can say, you know what, I don't like it. Nothing's worked for me. No one's trying to make a solution. This is my solution. I don't need you, right? But that's not what I was going to talk about. Specifically around things like UBI, right? Around that sort of concept. So when I was in America, I was working like two full-time jobs. Like I was in a pretty shit marriage, but anyway, you have to work those jobs because you have to have health insurance, and the health insurance is kind of crap, and you don't know who your doctor's going to be, or you do, and you only have one vacation week per year, and if you're sick at all during the year, it cuts into it, and it just drags on you. And when you're living in it, you think that's the only thing, right? Like this is what everybody goes through, so I just have to suffer through it like everybody else. Anyway, 25 years ago, I moved to Australia, and I had all these things like everything socialism, and if you're not this, then you're getting free handouts and all that crap. But anyway, like I started working, right, and in working, like I didn't have to wait till I start working. Before I started working, you have access to Medicare if you become like a permanent resident or whatever. So I could go to the doctor whenever I want. There's no such thing as copay. I could go in.
Wow.
I have a headache. I got a stomach ache. I'm vomiting or whatever. I can just go to the doctor, and the doctor looks after me, and they say, "Piss off, go home," and whatever. Like, don't have to pay. No, I have to pay. So that's cool. Whatever. That's a cool thing. But it didn't hit me till I started working. Of like when I got when I could start working, and then all of a sudden I start working, and they go, okay, you get 4 months vacation every year, and you have like 8 sick days, right? And that's everybody. Like it's mandated by law, whatever. And certain companies that are really good, they'll give you like an extra day for your birthday or something like that. And I don't care, like if you go, oh, that's socialism or so, whatever. Like you fucking use your words, whatever. Use whatever. But I'll tell you what it means mentally and why I've been able to be so much more adjusted as a human being since I've sort of moved here. Is my brain just was suddenly like free. So I don't have to ever worry about staying at a place I'm miserable about for 20 years because I'm going to lose my vacation time and I'm not going to have access to healthcare from my family. There's the amount of head screw that just I literally, people say it feels like a weight off your shoulder. I'm not joking. The moment I realized, it felt like weights coming off my shoulder because of that reality. Like I'm still working hard, I'm still contributing. Like people say, like, but you won't have any motivation to work. Like I've been working since I'm 14. Like right now, I'm all in on this, but I've always been working. I've always felt like I've got to do something, and I've got to do something good. So, I don't want to take it too much off AI, but this has been in line with the way this conversation is going, right? The reality is that like, if that stuff's taken care of, you can be more productive because you're not wound up 24 hours a day and feeling like you're at the end of your rope.
Well, and I think we can even, yes, and I think we can use you as an example of one of these emerging new types of business models. You have helped people find a voice, grow an audience, but you've also raised awareness for the, I believe it's John Fawcett Foundation, and you've
Mm-hmm.
helped raise money, right? And the work that they do is amazing. And so by you promoting other people and inadvertently promoting yourself in the process, but which is great. But you're also raising awareness and money for a charity. Now imagine, and yeah, you're putting in time, and I do think ultimately there are probably going to be some business models that you can attach to some of what you're doing. I think you're at a good place where you can be money can be made through what you're doing, and if
Mm-hmm.
so, then obviously you clip the ticket. Um, but the mental health implications from AI are huge, and
Yeah.
we do need to at least destigmatize it. And people that want to say they hate hate AI music. I know we said we weren't going to talk too much about the haters, but it's like
Oh, okay.
people that hate it.
It's going organically, so just go.
Right. But it's those people, as long as they can tell me why they personally hate it and don't
Mm,
impose that for everyone else, they're very entitled to an educated opinion. But at least the people that like just viscerally think they don't like it, they're going to come across you at some point, and you
mm,
may open their eyes and their minds and their hearts to this other, side of the coin, as it were. And so I just really I applaud you for that. And I'm gonna I'm sure I'll find some of these clips as well that we can throw onto my LinkedIn, and let more people know about you. But I'm really like, I'm building in some interesting spaces, and some really cool technology across the board in my portfolio. But I think what I'm most bullish on is AI music.
mm.
For all of the reasons, but also like in addition to trying to create a new genre, I've said my stated goal right now, and I don't care if, and I literally tell my therapist, I don't care if this never happens, and this is not why I do it, but my goal is to win a Grammy and have a multi-platinum song. And platinum song
Yeah.
now is defined by 300 million streams across online channels. Multi-platinum would mean 600 million. That's a half billion streams.
Uh,
It's doable.
I want to talk about your Grammy thing. Let me talk about your Grammy thing because this is a thing again that came up by Michael Schulman. He was asked in this podcast about Grammys and AI music, and he very was very caged around it and kind of saying, almost saying, but not quite saying, it's already happened because he like may or may not be aware that the celebrities winning Grammys are or are not possibly using AI and the making of those exact songs that are in the Grammy. So the question is like whether you can make a song and be open about it when you're winning your Grammy. So that's very much on the cards for you because maybe or maybe not, it's already been acknowledged that it's happening already.
Well, the Grammys have now said that it is permissible.
Mm,
So AI music right now is able to be nominated for and win a Grammy. And when you use products like Suno, you do own the IP of the songs that you create. So, people with the business mind, I'm partial to my songs. I think some of the songs I'm putting out are fantastic, but I'm hearing other people with great AI music as well. And I don't say this lightly. I think the best AI music I'm hearing right now is better than most music I've heard that humans have made ever. Right. And
mm.
there's still bad AI music. There's also terrible human music. Right.
Yeah,
There's like,
I was
it's
saying
hard to
that.
get
Yeah,
to,
I agree. Yeah.
but on the top end, AI has already disrupted music.
And it's super new if you think about it. Like you look at the models that are coming out and release like 3.5, then 4, then 4.5, 4.5 plus. They're not tiny incremental jumps. They're massive jumps. So when you get to the point where they're only tiny incremental, that's you're going to see some really quality stuff.
That's true. But also you saw that Suno's coming out with a DAW, right?
Yes, I saw that too. Yeah, I think they purchased an existing DAW. I can't remember off the top of my head. They incorporating what that one is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'll be a game changer. That's when we can do mashups and remixes, and hopefully when
Mm.
artists start being able to be compensated if their work. Now, do you know about what Grimes did?
Yes, I did a segment on that, and go ahead,
Brilliant.
talk about that anyway.
Well, it's just, she was one of the first artists, and her songs aren't everyone's cup of tea, but she is a recording artist. She's put out albums and songs, but she was the first one. She put all of her sounds and voice on AI and blockchain, and she said come to my website and use AI to make Grimes songs, and
Mm.
we'll co-own them. And if they ever
Yep.
make money, you'll make money off of sounding like me, and I'll make money off of you making songs. But the brilliant thing is, fans did it, and it like made her catalog go up by hundreds or thousands of songs. And now she owned 50% of thousands of songs of people, arguably more artistic, creative, or mainstream than she. And I do believe she's making music or making money off the music that her fans are making, kind of as her. So she'll have one of the biggest catalogs of any artist soon, all because of
I'll do a
AI.
segment on that actually because I haven't done that. I haven't done it on a long time. I just basically pointed out ages ago that's her platform and that's what she's doing, and I was basically using her as an example of someone who is a supporter of and who's making her own platform and watch this space. And then I stopped watching that space, so that's super interesting. I'm going to dig into that and see what's going on exactly because that's a really good. I got actually notified. Andy Riffith, I think, tunes made $6,000 on one of his songs very recently. So
Well,
it's hitting that on one song.
right, and someone had fun making it too. That's the thing, is AI music really is a blast.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing too. It's like super addictive. I think like someone said again. I guess it was Mikey Schulman, but he said something like people hate making music. I'm trying to make it fun. That's not necessarily true. I think I'm not sure the context of that. But yeah, people have a blast doing it. So whether you're making $6,000 or you're spending all night making awesome music, it's just fun. It's just fun to do. Yeah, and that's one of
That's
the reasons
right.
I like to highlight because the next stage of it being fun is you want someone to hear it. And the next stage of fun is someone acknowledges that it's a song that they've heard at the very least, you know?
Wow. Yeah, I mean the song of mine that you featured is has the most likes of any of them. It's brought me a lot of new subscribers. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, invoices in the mail too. So
Perfect.
I just sent it to Brazil. So I didn't
There you
actually
go.
know you were in Brazil. I thought you were in the U.S. To be fair, I think it's awesome that you're
Yeah,
in Brazil. But
yeah, it's a different world.
is that where you're living permanently? Is that
My wife's down here, so yeah, this is home. I'm from the U.S. and so I still have family and everything there, but
Yes,
this
sir.
has been home. And the music scene here is very
That
different.
was damn it. You got that was my segue. You just rogged me from. I was going to ask you what the music scene was in Brazil. What's the AI music scene? What's the music scene? I mean, is it all salsa sort of stuff, or what is it?
Well, so salsa is not from here, but samba is, and so
Samba.
there's a lot of kind of musical styles that originated from here, but a lot of it's like Afrocentric beats, and they do the funk here is very different. But there's just everywhere, every day there's live music around and it's instruments that are different. But what's great is the AI actually can replicate this music really well. And a lot of people
Yeah.
that I come across weren't really using AI music. And so when I show them that they can make, their own funky or their own samba and people really I've had people go crazy for how much they love it down here.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a place I haven't been, but like I think everybody has it on their eventual bucket list is to head down to Brazil. It seems
Absolutely.
pretty awesome. That and where I'm living right now in the Gold Coast in Australia,
Gold
and I'm
Coast.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been to Australia before? Or?
I haven't, but I do have a lot of fans there. Some of like when I first was becoming an influencer years ago, like my hardcore fans were all in Australia. So I've
Yeah,
always said like if I go down there, I know they're gonna roll out the red carpet and I do have some great like friends from online that I have not met in person and a couple friends that have started big companies down there that I do know in person. So I do have to get down there at some point soon.
yeah. Well, let's talk about you being an influencer because usually this is at the start. Usually like to build a story of why you should listen to this person, but you started off just being an interesting person anyway. So, like you're an influencer. I know you're big on LinkedIn. Um, just talk about like the type of influencing you do and like what it is like. To be fair, I just looked through all your stuff and found out as much as, and I'm like, dude, I could just talk about a million different things with this guy. So tell us what you do and like what your influencing speciality is and what you influence and why people follow you in general.
Yeah, I mean, I have people, my follower count is well above a half a million on LinkedIn, but a lot of those are the executives at, Google DeepMind, OpenAI, Anthropic, Perplexity. And so, I do reach the right eyeballs, the PayPal mafia and, a lot of these people do look to my content as kind of the counter perspectives. And I do because I'm not associated with Google or Microsoft, I'm able to talk about these things, right? And I don't, but I launched a newsletter called Tech for Good that got 70,000 subscribers the first
I
one
keep
day.
meaning to reach out to them specifically around mental health with AI music. You know,
Yeah, well, and I feature that stuff in my newsletter that's now got about a quarter million subscribers. And so, that's what I use my influence for is just talking about like the tech and what it is good for, what it's used for, what we need to be careful of. Lately I've been sharing a lot of my music videos on LinkedIn because that's part of my strategy. I get millions of impressions there monthly. And so, that's that should be a growth channel for my AI music as well.
guys, sorry, my power was literally cut. Not power, I paid my bills, but the electrician came out. He was only supposed to turn off the lights locally when he's doing a bit of repair. He accidentally cut power to everything. So I believe we left off, Cory, with you talking about your sphere of influence on LinkedIn, and it's sort of in the tech space. And because like it's good, I'm just recalling so we can get back on track because you're not working specifically for any of those tech areas. It leaves you free space to openly talk and give honest opinions, and that's why people like to follow you. Is that correct? Is that pretty much that summed up where we were going?
Yeah, exactly. That's where we're at. And I think something I touched on earlier is that I do play instruments and I have, performed for audiences since the 90s. But also one of my tech companies, one of my co-founders who's become a friend, he's a major recording artist and has been for 20 years. And he's done the Grammys thing and the multi-platinum thing. He's actually on one of the, or not one of, he's on the biggest song ever here in Brazil. I think it got a quarter billion streams in the first 24 hours. Like we were at a big wedding this weekend and his song comes on. but so he's, again, real recording artist, and I have other friends in the industry that I grew up listening to, and now that I talk to often, that in their own rights they fill stadiums, right? And they're all pro AI music right now,
Hmm.
right? And so we look at people in the space like Will I Am and others that have been
Hmm.
embracing, Timbaland
Very, will I
embracing.
am very, very quietly, kind of not trying to sort of come out too much, but kind of a little bit, right?
And he's got a company though. I think they're called FYI, and Timbaland's doing a lot now with Suno, and so we are seeing the adoption, by the industry, and like legendary super producer Scott Storch is using AI, and so, I think we're at an inflection point, and I think people are going to look back and at people like yourself and hopefully me as well and say, well, these guys were doing their thing. One of the quotes I love that came from a real musician's real song from back in the day, but is ridicule is the burden of genius, and I
Yeah.
think we see that manifest often. But yeah, these days I use my influence on LinkedIn and beyond to kind of talk about my AI music and AI music in general. Um, I haven't found too many other people's AI music that I love as much as my own yet, but I'm open to it and I'm
Find that a
looking.
bit. Find a bit of that. There's a lot of people are the best guy making AI music right now, but you have to be a fan of your own stuff. So
You do, and I'll be candid. I'd say probably half of the time that I'm listening to music anymore, it's my own AI music.
hmm.
Um, and I get not all of, but I get some of my AI songs stuck in my head, and it's like having me revisit old genres that I haven't listened to in a long time. But I will tell you as well, Matt, I have, my company WeJ, where we've been building in the music tech space for a while. I have some of my co-founders are also influencers in have done big things in the music industry. And we've created an AI group, that's the J's, and we're going to be dropping an album soon, and we expect to get international earned media, and we expect to make some types of headlines with this album. I also think there's a chance that a couple of the bigger DJs, a few of the bigger DJs in the world will hear the album. If anything comes of that, we'll see. But so, I'm still really having fun building in the space. And again, it can't be about the money, especially right now. Like if
Hmm.
people are making AI music thinking they'll make money, I think they've already lost the battle, even if they
In
ended up
the
making.
interim, because I think in the interim you can't be focused on that because it hasn't been proven en masse yet that it's going to happen. So you have to be able to stick with it for a long time before that sort of manifests. And if you're only doing it for the money, you're not going to see money for a long time. And I think, I mean, and then there's going to be someone watching, but I did, yeah. But I'm talking, as a general rule of thumb, like maybe, you know, the chances are if you are going to make money, in my opinion, it's not going to be tomorrow. So like I look at this channel as like minimum 5 year project before I see like a proper salary on it. It has to be because of the joy in doing it and the impact that it's make and how it makes me feel. So
Matt, I'll tell you, I think it's much more likely. I think it's much more likely that if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to be part of some song making somebody $1 million.
hmm,
And I would really hope anybody watching this, if they're the one and if their song makes $1 million because of you getting it out to a wider audience at some point, or if you're part of their journey and their song makes $1 million, which a certified platinum song online these days makes over $1 million. And I would hope that that person would want to hit you with at least, 20, 50K,
yeah,
right? You know what I mean? And it's
right.
like,
And half to
right,
the
not,
JFF,
what's that?
half to the John Fawcett Foundation. Check it there.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I did that. Well, like one person did win a $250 prize on a competition, and basically just gave all of it to me, which I really that was Bertata. I appreciate that, and I gave half of that to the John Fawcett Foundation. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah,
I like that across the board, but I think, those numbers are going to go up and up. You know, and you really are, you're going to be a catalyst to so many. And so, you know, anybody that you help out that makes $0, you know, it is what it is. But I think, you know, like me, that song of mine, Hot AI Summer, I should have just got the intro to you sooner. We could have had that been the song of the summer, but everybody's loving it now. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
um you know, now I don't know that that song will make money or not, who cares, but like at some point I'll make some money off my AI music, that's for sure, and you're part of that journey. So yeah, I think like salary, we'll see, but I think if you're part of a couple big songs, you might not need to worry about salary.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, at some point it has to pay something because I can't do this forever and never have an income on it. But that's like I said, I have a long term vision on that stuff, and there's other stuff I'm getting to, and there's you know a little bit of money comes in and all that stuff. But like you said, that can't be the primary focus. Otherwise, you'll every single day I'm not making money. Look at the bank; they're not making money, and just fall off, right? If that's your goal,
Oh,
you have to have other stuff to focus on.
and you know what would be cool? It would be cool for you and me to collaborate on a song, figure out some way to make it interactive or a contest, shout out the John Fawcett Foundation in the song, but and just do something like where proceeds from the song go to the John Fawcett Foundation.
I would
And
love
if
that.
it
Love that.
right, and it can be 100% of the proceeds, that's fine. I think that would be great. But so, you know, if it makes $1, great. We donated $1 to a great cause. But if it makes 1,000, but so
Dude,
let's say the
I'm
song
picking up
like
what you're putting down. So this is what I'm going to do now because you just bang fired in my brain. The person that looks after the trips to the John Fawcett Foundation, because there's that secondary thing that charity that the only function of that charity is to raise money for John Fawcett Foundation, which is Love Heart Travel. Which I'm going to be hitting you up to go on a trip to Indonesia with me really soon, and we can basically go see the work. But I'm going to be interviewing her, I think tomorrow or the day after, and I'm going to be doing a live session with her when I get back from Boston. And I think for that live session, a cool thing will be part of raising money for John Fawcett Foundation. And live, maybe we could build up a song with you included and anybody that's on that song. We can collaborate live, make a song specifically to raise money for that, as you're saying, but as a whole live thing. And people can do donations live as part of it as well.
well, now you're there's something that we were going to be building at my company, and I think we can just kind of do this together if you want. But we were talking about doing like a marathon,
Mm,
right? And just like just live stream making music on Suno, and
yeah.
not a tutorial, like in real time, just like watching me or whoever come up with the lyrics, do the super prompts, then take that version and you know 30 different remixes and covers later and tweaking the weirdness and the right and then letting the whoever's tuned in, you know, say like, oh, try it like this or we do like this, and let the community just, you know, develop these songs together. And I
Yeah.
think it would be like
Yeah.
a jam session, and the idea,
Dude.
Matt, would be to go for hours and hours and hours,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah. Yeah.
almost like, and I'll tell you, when
Love
in
that.
college in 1996, I got the nickname that was stolen. Not, it wasn't stolen, and it was just coincidence. But Shaquille O'Neal ended up using it afterwards. But they named me Diesel in college because there was a bonfire party, and I was freestyle rapping, and that's kind of my human talent is I'm an incredibly good freestyle rapper. I still am, but so I started freestyle rapping, and somehow I rapped until the sun came up. It was something like 7 8 hours of just straight, right? People were bringing me
Really?
beers, and there was even a few times where I was going pee, you know, and I was still freestyle rapping, and people were like listening to me and watching me, even though it's great. And so they called me Diesel after that. They're like, the guy, you know, it's like you were running and running and running on. And so to think of like making music for that long and with AI music and just let people tune in and they can learn how to use Suno better, because I'll show how to use all the brackets and the parentheses and where you put like all the things I do to make some of the best AI music in the world. We could just do that on a marathon, and the whole time, if people want to donate, it can just go straight to the John Fawcett Foundation, because
Dude,
I
that's
love your
awesome.
yeah, well, and then I've got people that do impact travel, and they put together groups of people with money, and so we could see about, you know, letting people go over there and work with their hands and donate bigger amounts of money. Um, but I love it, man. I've always I looked up the John Fawcett Foundation the first time I ever saw one of your videos, and it's I
Really.
see why you
You,
supported it.
you're very much piquing me if you've got a captive audience that could do that, because I would very much like to bring, because like when I went, it was, some people I kind of knew in my wider network sort of thing, maybe kind of knew this person, that person. I would love to just get a trip organized of a group of people like that. That would be fantastic. I'm keen to go again, put it that way.
Yeah, no, I think let's make it happen, man. Let's like if we plan a little big and have some stretch goals, if we say like we want to raise, a minimum of 10K or
Mm,
something, for the John Fawcett Foundation, and then if we double that, then we hop on a plane and go over there and give some high fives in person.
yeah.
Um, that could be super
Dude,
cool.
you're picking up what I'm putting down. I think the to book a seat on the bus is like $2,200 or something like that per person, is the donation for that to be on the seat. But then you have to get to there
Wow.
as well. But while you're doing the actual trip yourself, when you're actually on the trip, like the bus is all provided, your accommodations provided, the food's provided, your way back's provided, the ferry's provided is sort of part of that. So
Wow.
yeah,
That sounds amazing.
dude. Um, I wish people could understand like the tingles like I get when like that's a like to that this like I keep telling people this is one of the goals that I have, is to have these trips of people in the AI music community. And now you're talking about it, it sounds like it's interesting to you. That's very much making
It's
me
ve-
feel good.
It's very interesting to me, and I'll tell you, you are a YouTuber, right? And it's your job as a YouTuber, and your friends now like me, our job is to help make you a bigger and bigger YouTuber. But yeah, I'm an influencer on LinkedIn. I could see a world in which we went over there on kind of, you know, a mission trip. It doesn't have to be a religious mission. Maybe the mission is, to do good, spread good vibes, and incorporate AI music and live stream some of that. And there are a couple guys, they're fellow AI influencers. They don't know who I am, but one of them's Dylan Curious, but Dylan and another YouTuber, they've started doing like joint videos and joint interviews with other AI influencers. I forget who the other one is, but it's good. And I could see us doing something like that for the AI music community. Take people and let them see the impact. Maybe do an album down there, go around and let some of these people, like listen to the music and give some prompts and have fun with other people down there on the bus.
Man,
Raise
that would
awareness. I
be
mean,
it would be incredibly fulfilling in every way with the music. It can't be described. Like I can't tell you what it's like to actually meet these people. I've spoken about it before, but like speaking of it, this is why I want to bring people on the trip, is to see people's face, the deep appreciation that they have. And I felt uncomfortable because I didn't really want to be appreciated. I didn't want to, like a lot of people are going, oh, I was kind of trying to avoid it, but you can't avoid it. Because I didn't want to feel like, oh, look at me, I've done this for you. Like, so I was kind of like a little bit, not as getting hands on, but I'd like to go again so I could just feel the experience and have other people do it too. But you're right, like it could be promoted because people are YouTubers, because people are making music and putting it out, and that content would be about that, and more people would realize it and maybe want to go on a trip. Like, you're an ideas guy, man. We have a thing here in Australia called "You're an Ideas Guy."
I like it.
Yeah,
And just in case somehow someone watching this cares who the other one is, Dylan Curious and Wes Bush, they're the two AI influencers. I like them and their content, but it's like I watched both of their stuff individually for months, and then all of a sudden they teamed up, and their dynamic is great. And it's you're probably the only person I could point to in the AI space period, let alone the AI music space, that does have this philanthropic component, and you really do bring heart into this. And I think AI music will be, a tens of billion-dollar space or more. And
yeah,
if part of the ethos of the AI music space is philanthropic, I think that's that's hugely net positive. So, you know, cheers to you for the work you're doing, but I think let's keep strategizing
Mm.
on how we can make more impact. I like where you're at with all that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that'd be awesome. Cool. So we'll sort of wrap that up. Is there anything else you want to sort of promote of your own? Because I always that's one of my pillars is give you an opportunity. We've talked about, dude. This has been I love to. I'll tell you what. As far as like this wasn't a thing I planned. I set out to do is do interviews and all that. I used to be a very up until like 10 years ago. The thought of even having conversations would freak me out. So yeah,
Wow.
I've went to a lot of networking events in the last 10 years and sort of got past a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff in my head, and now to the point where these interviews are about to happen, and I'm like, I'm so because everyone's different, and the way I have to engage with people is different every time, and I look forward to figuring out how that is, and then I look forward to figuring out like what is going to be unique about this person and what am I going to learn. Super exciting. So and you've been another unique person with his own unique way to interview, and I've loved it. I absolutely love this one, just like I love all the other ones. But like this one, like you said, you experience in podcasting and you've done interviews, so that's really good too. But I like getting people on their first time too, and they're really unsure, and I get to try to navigate what that feels like for them and for me at the same time, and it's really fun. So I'm really
Yeah,
glad you came aboard.
me too, but I'll also say, I mean, you're one of the other channels where when I see you've got a new video on, I typically watch it, and if I don't have time, I go back and I actively watch your stuff. So it's, you know, our attention is the commodity, and it's,
Mm,
how many people, and I don't say this for any reason other than what I'll say afterwards, but I so many people want my time, right? And at
mm,
any
mm.
given point, I mean, there's probably thousands of people that want me to watch what they're putting out on social media and on YouTube, and so I just can't do it. So the default is you can't do it. But then there are those few people where they're just so authentic, and what the perspectives that they're sharing, and where their hearts are at is so endearing, where it becomes part of your routine, and you're one of those guys for me. So it is, sometimes when I'm watching on my TV, I'm like, how do I comment on this? Or I'll go on my phone to try to, because as much as you show others the support, and I like to see that people are showing you the support as well, and they
Yeah.
are, but you're still early, but you're going to find that this is one of those things. I know you're going to stick with it, and this is going to be you're going to be glad you did. I'm sure of that
Dude,
one. So,
I'm holding back tears of you right now to be honest. Like that sort of support and saying those things, I appreciate that.
oh man, I feel that too. So then I guess these are going to be my final words then, and then maybe we'll have to do a part two at some point. But this is the power of AI music, right? Two
Mm.
guys, we're both in the southern hemisphere, but we're still half the world apart, right? Two expats from the U.S. that both love AI music, and now we're talking business and impact. We're talking about going on a vacation and raising, you know 10,000 American dollars is like $1 million over there. So it's like,
Yeah, so
we're talking,
oh, I thought you were
right?
talking about. I thought you were talking Australian. I'm like
Oh,
pretty close.
no, over in Indonesia.
Indonesia, yeah, yeah,
But so
yeah.
I mean, this is the power of AI music, right? We're
Mm,
here
mm.
because of AI music, and everybody that's watching this is here because of AI music. And what I would encourage people to do if they're inspired, by you or today's show, or beyond, whatever it is, but and it's interesting. I just had a guy named Dr. Josh Lang. He accepted my LinkedIn invite this second, but he's the guy that created NFTs. So we're going to have a talk about that. But I
Oh,
want to see what he thinks about NFTs and music, right? And putting all of these,
yeah,
if every song Suno generated was minted on chain, right? So he's credited as
dude.
the
I don't
guy
know
that
if you
started.
watch I'll just jump in. I don't know if you watch the same podcast. So a lot of the things you're saying are from the same podcast that I watch, but literally Suno, like they were asked the question about if you could chuck your AI songs on NFTs, if that is something they're talking about in the
Wow.
future, and it's a conversation that Suno was having. So
Cool. Well, shout out Dr. Josh. I'm stoked to meet him. I know he knows my one of my co-founders at Verified, where they're the Grammy winning artists. But so anyway, I'm gonna leave it with this. Thank you to everybody watching this. If you watched through to the end, thank you. You're a champ. Tell some friends that AI music isn't all weird and bad. But and then a huge thank you to Matt. Matt, you are the AI DIY connoisseur. You are the man of the hour, and the space applauds you, man. I personally applaud you. Thanks for having me, and thanks for all you do.
Dude, thanks, Cory. Like you said, I know your time is valuable. I appreciate you being on. I appreciate you sticking with me when my power went out. So, and I appreciate all the kind words. We're definitely going to stay in touch, and we'll look at that work we can do for the JFF. So, thanks there for being here, and we'll definitely get you for another interview at another time too. So, thank you.